Well, there's nothing like the smell of lilacs in the spring, and a lot of people would like to propagate a lilac and take it home to grow in their own yard. And there's a couple of methods that you can do this, and right now is a good time to propagate lilacs. You want to do it basically from when they start blooming until they're finished blooming if you want to take cuttings. And I'm going to show you how to take cuttings first, and then I'm going to show you another method. Now, if you're going to take a cutting of a lilac, you want to find a shoot that doesn't have any flowers on it, and you want to take about a 5 to 6 inch cutting. Next, you're going to want to remove the bottom third of the leaves, put some rooting hormone on the cut end, and then stick this in a pot that's filled with either coarse sand, vermiculite, or perlite, something that's going to drain really fast. Then what you're going to want to do is cover that with a plastic bag, some way to keep the moisture in, and let that root. Now, you want to keep it moist enough so that your cutting doesn't wilt. However, you don't want to keep it too moist because you're going to encourage disease. Now, this can actually take quite a while, and it can be difficult to do at home because of the lack of an actual mist system. Also, when you're taking cuttings of lilacs, some types of lilacs root better than others, and even for the lilacs that root well, there's only about a 45% success rate. So if you're going to take cuttings, you're going to want to take quite a few of them so that you can get a few to root. However, there's another way to propagate a lilac that actually has a better success rate, and that is a type of layering. Now, this method is called simple layering, and the reason that you can get a lot better success with this is because your cutting or your layer actually stays attached to the parent plant until it roots. So to do a simple layer is actually pretty simple, believe it or not. Just choose a rapidly growing, still flexible branch. And here I've got one that's still very flexible, and I'm going to want to go ahead and remove the flowers from this because I don't really want the energy to go into the flowers. So we'll take these off. Then, before you start to work with this branch, you're going to want to prepare your soil down below. Now, you can actually add some compost to that. And I'm going to want to dig about a 3-inch hole down here. And it helps if we actually slant this back towards the base of the plant a little bit. So I've got my hole dug here, and I actually added a little bit of compost here. You want to make sure that this is in an area that's got some good drainage, and also that the soil is nice and kind of mellow here. Then what I want to do, I've picked my branch here, and it's actually very limber, and I want to remove any of the side shoots or leaves that are growing on my branch. So I'm just cutting all of these off. And pretty much from the base till about 8 inches from the tip here, I've removed all of these branches. Now, the next thing I want to do is kind of measure here where I'm going to be in the ground. And what I'm going to want to do is actually place this cutting in the ground. Now, I'm going to want anywhere from 8 to 10 inches on the top here above the ground. And I'm going to have a bend right here. Now, what I'm going to do at this bend is I'm actually going to wound this plant. And so I'm going to take my propagation knife, and on the underside where it's going to touch the ground, I'm actually going to scrape the bark or the cambium away. Basically, just wound that area. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a little bit of rooting hormone on that. And you don't need just a whole lot, just kind of sprinkle it on there and then kind of dust it across there and tap off the excess. Now I'm going to take that branch and I'm just going to place it in the hole, and then what I'll do is I'll actually pin it down with a piece of wire, and that will help hold it down in the soil. Now, you want to be careful so that you don't break your branch off. And then I'll actually cover that, and again, it's about 3 inches deep. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to stake this so that we've actually got our little piece here growing up straight, and just tie that on. And then we'll want to make sure and keep that moist. So through the season you'll want to come back and water it, especially if it gets really dry, because that is actually a little rooting bed there. While it's still attached to the mother plant, we're going to be developing some roots. Now we'll let this grow all season and also through the winter. And next spring, this should be able to be dug up. It should have roots, and you can actually sever this from the mother plant, dig this up and move it, and you'll have a brand new lilac bush for your own yard.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.